Um, for over a year now, we knew that Donald Trump imagined himself as the head of a violent armed mob storming the Capitol on January 6th to steal the election. He repeatedly tried to make his fantasy a reality, even as his lawyers and security personnel recommended him against it. And when this didn't work out for him, he threw a tantrum like a little bitch that he is, physically assaulting a Secret Service member in an attempt to force the agent to let Trump play out the Lenny Riefenstahl remake in his head. Now there will be a world of deflection, bullshit, hand waving, and dithering from Republicans to distract from Tuesday's revelations, but it will be difficult to erase the vivid picture that was painted by Cassidy Hutchinson. Um, Cassidy Hutchinson was a top aide to Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Now, Hutchinson testified before the House Select Committee, um, um, the House Select Committee of the January 6th hearing in a surprise last-minute hearing that was held Tuesday. Hutchinson was already the source of much of the information about Trump's behavior on and around January 6th, including his approval of the Capitol rioters threatening to murder his vice squatter, Mike Pence. So even though some reporters like Maggie Haberman of the New York Times promised that Hutchinson's testimony would be explosive, it was reasonable to be skeptical that much more of a relevance would be revealed. Um, Now the skeptics, however, were fucking wrong. Now, as Hutchinson had more to tell, and the main takeaway is so wild it would be hard to believe if there were any other president or squatter. Trump's vision for January 6th was that he would be a general in an ill-fitting suit, standing before Congress with an army of armed red maggot hats behind him, telling the legislator to give him the White House or else. But let's face it, because it's Trump, it's all too easy to fucking believe. Now, this is the same clown who dramatically pulled his mask off on the White House balcony like he was tearing down an enemy flag when he returned from the hospital when he tested positive for COVID. The same man who marched through a tear gas cleared Lafayette Park, flanked by a battalion of security, to wave a Bible around in the posture of some imaginary Christian soldier. Now, we've endured enough of Trump's reality TV informed flair for cheesy drama, but at this fucking point, it would be more of a surprise to find out he didn't want to pull off a knockoff remake of Mussolini's March on Rome on January 6th. Now, the corniness of Trump's fascist regime is weird, but it's important not to lose sight of the most important takeaway of Hutchinson's testimony. There was a mind meld between Trump and his minions who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, based largely on their shared enthusiasm for violence. Um, as Hutchinson laid it out, Trump was not only aware that many in the Klan rally crowd were heavily armed. He seemed to be counting on that. He got angry with the Secret Service for not letting people with AR-15s and body armor clamor to his side during the Klan rally, saying, according to Hutchinson, "I don't fucking care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me." He demanded that the armed thugs that support him march to the Capitol from here. Now, Trump knew that they were fucking armed, yet he directed his sycophantic inbreds to the Capitol on January 6th. He then repeatedly insisted on being the head of the mob. But when Secret Service wouldn't let him, he yelled, "I'm the fucking squatter. Take me up to the Capitol now," and physically attacked the agent driving the car in an attempt to grab the wheel. Now that Trump is a violent bully is one thing, and it's not a surprise, and not just because he has a long history of publicly fantasizing about violence and encouraging his sycophantic inbreds to murder his political opponents. He's also on tape bragging about grabbing women by the pussy and sexually assaulting them. He's been he um a woman, Eugene Carroll, came forward and said that he had raped her and grabbed her in some sexual manner, and his ex-wife, who retracted her claim during a lengthy divorce proceeding, where her alimony was threatened. Now Don Jr.'s college roommate additionally reports that he saw Trump slap his son across the face, knocking him to the floor in front of all his classmates because his son didn't want to wear a suit to a fucking baseball game. Trump frequently careens between an obvious longing to champion violence openly and the lawyer-induced awareness that such talk can create legal troubles. As Hutchinson's testimony demonstrated, that tension was in full effect on January 6th, and then the days before and after her testimony indicates that Meadows at least seemed quite aware that all the hype around January 6th was about drawing a violent crowd to the Capitol, even telling her on January 2nd that things might get real bad. When that prediction came true, Meadows was too afraid to offend Trump to even discuss asking Trump to pull his foot off the gas. She also testified repeatedly that Trump's lawyers seemed quite aware that the intent here was to incite a fascist riot. and she painted a picture of lawyers fluttering around, trying to convince Trump to embrace plausible deniability, and for that instance, removing the word fight from his inciting Klan speech. Now, we're going to get charged with every crime imaginable if Trump follows through with this plan to join the rioters, the Klan rioters. Basically, she recalls Trump's lawyer, Pat Cipollini, complaining. One imagines that the word Jared Kushner would use is whining. The irony of this is that, as usual, Trump's minions saved him from himself. If he had his way and was able to lead the Capitol Klan insurrection, it would have prevented him from playing the game he currently plays to deflect blame for January 6th. That gaslighting campaign, aided by the Republican Party and its propaganda arm of foe, centers around the claim that Trump was surprised as anyone by the violence and had no intention of inciting it when he told the mob to march on the Capitol. Now, despite all this evidence that Trump is a violent thug, we have seen this over the years. His apologists keep insisting on portraying him as a victim, when in fact he's the instigator. This tendency reached comical heights during the faux discussion of the Secret Service agent that Trump allegedly assaulted. Now, that clip illustrates the constant tension between Trump's desire to portray himself as a tough guy, which he's not, because he's a fucking coward and a weakling, and Trump's need to weasel out of legal accountability. Now, the latter ends up making him look like a weak old man who can't even get his supported staff to follow orders. That provokes the kind of insecurity that, in turn, it provokes more ridiculous, macho, chest-beating, violent fantasies that Trump has been rolling out regularly at his Klan rallies, which have been mostly ignored by the press because there's nothing anything substantial to offer. Now, Tuesday's hearing also underscored some of the political and legal problems around dealing with Trump's stochastic terrorism. It may be that Trump never directly conspired with the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and other right-wing militias to storm the Capitol that day. He didn't fucking need to. He spent years using public forums to signal his shared affinity for violence with these groups, even going so far as to tell the Proud Boys to stand by. And during his squad-roll debate with Joe Biden, they understood what he wanted from them. He just needed to give them a time and place, and that's exactly what he did. Now, why the January 6th committee decided to suddenly have Hutchinson testify is still somewhat of a fucking mystery to us. It's reported that concerns about her safety were a major factor. That is sadly the least surprising thing in the world. Hutchinson is everything that triggers the fragile egos of a fascist thug. She's a young, pretty woman who disobeys them. Sitting before the world and offering her testimony, Hutchinson shows what true strength and courage look like. It's not as Trump and his violent sycophants think about how many skulls you can bash in or death threats you can make. It's all about knowing that it's dangerous to do the right thing and doing it the right way. The only remaining question is whether enough of the public will see this and also know the difference between what they heard. Now, Hutchinson was basically, so putting it this way, she had first-hand account access during his administration because she was a top aide to Mike Pence. So basically, she witnessed everything that Trump incited and did. So basically, her testimony was explosive. I didn't watch the testimony yet, so I got that on hold. Since I'm off the next 2 days from my other job, I got enough time to put videos out today and tomorrow before I go back to work on Friday at my other job. So basically, Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony was very explosive, and basically, it's gonna piss off all the Republicans. So basically, it's up to you to decide whether you think her testimony is explosive or not. I think it was. I'm gonna assume that it was, but I guess I'll find out more when I listen to the audio and the testimony for it. So if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.